Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters in Allah. In a world where relationships and interactions are numerous, it is sometimes difficult to distinguish sincere intentions from malicious intentions. This video aims to provide you with guidelines for identifying people who can cause harm. In Islam, protecting your heart, your faith, and your well-being is essential to staying on the right path. Allah teaches us that certain behaviors and signs allow us to recognize people whose intentions can harm our spirituality, our inner peace, and even our relationship with Him. Islamic teachings offer us guidance to recognize and avoid people who, through their hypocrisy, jealousy, or manipulation, risk leading us away from the path of righteousness. Before starting this video, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our next publications on the Islamic faith. Thank you and good video. In this video, together we will explore 5 key signs based on Islamic teachings to identify people with bad intentions. Whether it is hypocrisy, lying, jealousy, incitement to evil, or the tendency to conflict, each of these signs is a clue that Allah has highlighted to help us remain vigilant. These tips taken from the Quran and the Sunnah guide us to avoid the traps of harmful influences and to preserve our relationship with Allah. Let us be attentive to these signs and remain firm in our faith by seeking to surround ourselves with sincere companions who bring us closer to divine mercy. So stay with me till the end to find out. If you have any questions or comments along the way, feel free to leave them down below. I really appreciate your feedback. Let's go. Sign 1. Apparent munafiq hypocrisy. In Islam, hypocrisy is one of the most condemned character traits because it constitutes a form of duplicity that harms sincere relationships and turns hearts away from the truth. Hypocrites, or munafiqun, often say one thing while thinking or doing another. Their behavior is deceptive, and they manipulate those around them to obtain advantages or personal interests while lacking sincerity. Understanding and recognizing the signs of hypocrisy is essential to protecting ourselves from their influence and preserving our faith. The Prophet Muhammad described the signs of the hypocrite clearly. He said the signs of the hypocrite are 3. When he speaks, he lies. When he promises, he betrays his promise. And when we trust him, he deceives. Reported by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. These signs highlight repetitive behaviors that break trust and show a lack of integrity. Hypocrites use lies as a tool, taking advantage of the gullibility and good faith of others. But their actions always end up revealing their true intentions. In the Quran, Allah also describes hypocrites very explicitly. In Surat al-Baqarah from 8 to 10, He says, "Among the people are those who say, 'We believe in Allah and the last day,' but they are not believers. They seek to deceive Allah and the believers, but they are only deceiving themselves, and they are not aware of it." This verse shows us that hypocrisy is an attempt at deception that only harms those who are guilty of it. Hypocrites claim to believe in Allah, but their actions show that they are not acting righteously. Recognizing hypocrites requires observing the inconsistencies between their words and actions. For example, they may encourage religious behavior in public, but in private they act against these principles. They may express apparent support, while working behind people's backs to sabotage them. This insincerity can sometimes be subtle, but over time the contradictions become more obvious. Hypocrites often show false kindness, offering help or advice not out of sincerity, but to manipulate. Another way to recognize hypocritical behavior is the tendency to break your word. Hypocrites make broken promises and use false commitments to gain the trust of others. For example, a hypocrite may promise support in a difficult situation, but when the moment comes, they disengage or make excuses to avoid getting involved. This selfish and calculating behavior is a clear sign of a lack of sincerity. Finally, false modesty and emotional manipulation are common methods employed by hypocrites. They may pretend to be humble or misunderstand to deflect criticism while continuing to harm others in secret. Sometimes they flatter excessively to gain favors or influence the decisions of those around them. These methods are designed to maintain their image of benevolence and righteousness, but in reality, they hide manipulative intentions. So, by remaining alert to these signs, lies, false promises, betrayal of trust, and false sincerity, we can guard against the harmful influences of hypocrites. Islam teaches us to cultivate sincerity, act with integrity, and avoid companies whose behavior borders on hypocrisy. By adopting righteousness and surrounding ourselves with sincere people, we protect our faith from the destructive influences of hypocrisy and preserve our connection with Allah. Sign 2. Manipulation and lies. Lies and manipulation are powerful tools in the hands of malicious people. These individuals, often dressed in false appearances and disguised intentions, use deception to gain control of situations and relationships. By appealing to illusion and disinformation, they seek to destabilize others, sow confusion, and achieve their selfish goals without regard for the consequences on those they manipulate. Manipulation is not just limited to obvious lies, but also includes subtle tactics, lies of omission, or the use of guilt to manipulate the feelings of others. In Islam, lying is severely frowned upon because it destroys trust and truth, two fundamental values for building strong and just human relationships. The Prophet explicitly warned of the dangers of lying in a hadith that reads, "He who lies to please people, Allah will disappoint him." Sahih Muslim. This hadith shows us that lying does not in any way benefit the one who does it. On the contrary, it precipitates his downfall. Lying is not only a sin in itself, but it carries far more serious repercussions, both for the person lying and for those who are its victims. Signs of tampering can be subtle and difficult to detect, but it is crucial to remain vigilant. A manipulative person may start by flattering and caressing the person they are talking to gain their trust. Then, she seeks to direct the discussions to lead the other to doubt their own perceptions or to accept ideas contrary to their own morality. Gaslighting, a subtle form of mental manipulation, is a common example where the person tries to make the other person doubt their own reality, feelings, or memory. Another tactic is to sow guilt or put emotional pressure on the other person. Manipulators often exploit the psychological weaknesses of individuals to convince them to do what they want by playing on their emotions. They will sometimes make people believe in a relationship of dependence, where the person feels indebted or incapable of moving away from this influence. Vigilance is therefore essential to avoid being deceived by these evil people. You must always analyze situations with discernment, not immediately accept what seems too good to be true, and always verify information. The Prophet said, "Truth leads to virtue, and virtue leads to paradise." Sahih al-Bukhari. This reminds us of the importance of always seeking the truth and being wary of those who seek to lead us away from it, whether through their words or actions. So, in a world where manipulation can hide behind seductive appearances, every Muslim must cultivate a clear, strong, and wise mind, armed with truth and knowledge to unmask their dark forces and protect their heart and soul from deception. Sign 3. Excessive jealousy and the evil eye. Jealousy is a natural human feeling, but when it becomes excessive, it can become poison for the soul. In Islam, jealousy, if not controlled, is seen as a source of destruction because it can lead to harmful actions towards others and disrupt spiritual balance. Allah warns us against this feeling in the Holy Quran, and do not envy one another. This verse invites us to be aware of and protect ourselves from the temptation of jealousy, because it can lead us to injustice and hatred. The Prophet also warned of the devastating effects of jealousy. In a hadith reported by al-Bukhari and Muslim, it states uncontrolled jealousy can not only destroy relationships between individuals, but it can also destabilize the inner peace of the one invaded by it. This emotion, when it takes root, can lead to malicious thoughts and actions, even wishing harm on others. Excessive jealousy, when left unchecked, can turn into malicious intent. It can lead to harmful actions such as slander, defamation, or even deliberate attempts to harm the person one envies. It is a feeling that, if left unchecked, can manifest itself in the form of insidious malevolence, where one secretly wishes misfortune on others. The Prophet also warned of the destructive impact of the evil eye, which is often the result of jealousy. In a hadith reported by Sahih Muslim, he said, "The evil eye is a form of curse caused by envy and jealousy of others, often unexpressed but felt deeply. This feeling can manifest itself in subtle ways, such as a jealous look or seemingly innocent words that carry bad intentions. Due to its harmful effect, it is important to protect yourself against it." The Prophet taught us several ways to defend ourselves against the evil eye. He recommended reciting specific supplications, such as Surat al-Falaq and An-Nas, to protect ourselves from invisible forces that can harm our spiritual and physical well-being. Jealous behavior is often marked by obvious signs, constant criticism, a clear desire to see the other person fail, and a secret desire to take what is theirs. This type of jealousy is sometimes expressed through derogatory comments or actions aimed at discrediting others, all of which is motivated by a lack of contentment with what we ourselves have. Islam teaches us that true inner peace and contentment comes from recognizing Allah's blessings and being grateful to Him. It is by cultivating this gratitude that we can protect ourselves against jealousy and envy. The solution to jealousy and the evil eye therefore lies in purification of the soul, the search for contentment and faith in divine wisdom. When we understand that Allah's blessings come to each person according to His will, we develop an attitude of kindness towards others, without desire to harm or surpass them. Protecting yourself from the evil eye also involves not letting yourself be affected by the envious looks of others, but turning to Allah to ask for protection and blessing. So by cultivating patience, gratitude, and firm faith, we can overcome the effects of jealousy and the evil eye, and preserve our inner peace and relationships. Side 4. Encouragement of evil or disobedience. In life, there are people whose influence is harmful, individuals who, through their words and actions, incite behavior contrary to morality and faith. These people, often driven by selfish or malicious intentions, seek to divert others from the right path. They employ subtle and sometimes even disguised strategies to encourage disobedience to Allah by distorting the truth or presenting sin in an attractive light. Their goal is to sow doubt, to weaken the faith of others, and to push them towards choices that will move them away from piety. The Prophet warned of the existence of such destructive influences. In a hadith reported by al-Bukhari and Muslims, he said, "He who invites good will have the reward of those who follow him, without diminishing theirs. And he who invites evil will have the responsibility of those who follow him, without this diminishing theirs." This hadith highlights the heavy responsibility of those who influence others, whether for good or evil. Those who incite immoral acts or sinful behavior bear some responsibility for the actions of those who influence them. The Quran also warns against these bad influences. Allah says in Surat Al-Furqan 25-27-29, "And the day when the unjust bites his hands, he will say, 'Ah, if I had taken a path with the Prophet, ah, if I had taken such and such as a friend. He certainly led me astray, far from the truth after it reached me.'" This verse refers to people who, on the verge of regretting their evil deeds, remember that they were influenced by others to stray from the right path. This reminds us of the importance of choosing our companions carefully, as their influences can have lasting consequences on our faith and actions. Bad influences can manifest themselves in various ways. Sometimes they are close people, friends or family members, who, through convincing words, push others to conform to immoral behavior or to move away from Islamic practices. For example, an individual may encourage the use of prohibited substances, alcohol, inappropriate behavior, or prohibited relationships, while minimizing the spiritual consequences of their actions. These people often use excuses such as, "Everyone does it," "It's normal today," or "There's nothing wrong." This type of reasoning seeks to trivialize sins and make them socially acceptable, when in reality they are major obstacles to godliness and true happiness. There are also more subtle influences, where people may encourage indifference towards religion or distract people from Islamic values by suggesting that faith and religious principles are disconnected from modern life or personal happiness. This form of influence is pernicious, as it intrudes into the deep thoughts and beliefs of the individual, leading them to doubt the relevance and beauty of Islamic teachings. The danger of these bad influences lies in their ability to infiltrate the souls of those who listen to them, particularly when the faith is still fragile or when the individual is not sufficiently anchored in his religious principles. This can create a situation where a person, under the influence of his incentives, begins to neglect his religious obligations, abandon his prayers, doubt the correctness of Islamic precepts, and indulge in the temptation of sin. This is why the Quran and Sunnah constantly remind us of the importance of surrounding ourselves with good company and avoiding people who lead us astray. Allah says in Surat Al-Mujadala 58-11, "O you who believe, when you are told, 'Make room in the congregations,' make room, and Allah will make room for you." This verse shows that Islam places great importance on the surroundings and influences that we choose. Surrounding our hearts with sincere and godly individuals is essential to keeping our faith intact. The Prophet also taught us that it is essential to shun bad influences. In another hadith, he compared the company of bad people to that of the watchmaker who sells perfume. Either you buy a perfume or you smell it, meaning that those around us always influence our actions and our state of mind. Thus, to preserve our faith and good deeds, it is crucial to distance ourselves from people and environments that incite disobedience to Allah. It requires constant vigilance, a sincere pursuit of truth, and a commitment to following the right path, even when outside influences try to lead us astray. People with bad intentions often aim to sow discord and create tension within communities. These individuals, whether they act consciously or unconsciously, take advantage of differences of opinion, misunderstandings, or human weaknesses to incite hatred, suspicion, and division. Whether through malicious words, rumors, or actions that pit individuals against each other, they seek to weaken the social and spiritual bonds that unite people, particularly within families, groups of friends, or communities. Their goal is to create divisions, encourage distrust, and destabilize collective harmony. Islam, however, emphasizes the importance of unity and brotherhood among believers. Allah says in the Quran, "And hold fast to the bond of Allah, all of you together, and do not be divided." Surat Al-Imran 303. This verse reminds us that cohesion among Muslims is a fundamental value, and that division is a danger to the stability and growth of the community. Unity in faith, brotherly love, and mutual support are the cornerstones of Muslim society. It is therefore essential to preserve these sacred bonds and to remain united despite differences of opinion or personality. The Prophet also stressed the importance of maintaining peace and preventing conflicts within the community. In a hadith reported by Al-Bukhari and Muslims, he said, "Do not hate each other, do not hate each other, do not turn your backs on each other. Be, O servants of Allah, brothers." This hadith invites us to cultivate peaceful relationships and avoid unnecessary quarrels. The Prophet teaches us that even if disagreements arise, we must resolve them with wisdom and respect, always remembering our brotherhood in Islam. Dividing behavior can manifest itself in various forms. For example, some people may spread rumors and false information to create misunderstandings and sow doubt between individuals. They may exaggerate events or distort reality to manipulate the emotions and opinions of others, thereby causing tension where there was none before. These individuals often act out of self-interest or resentment, seeking to weaken relationships between others to gain advantage. Other behaviors may include attempts at intimidation or manipulation, where one person seeks to pit two others against each other. This can happen, for example, in work environments, within families or social groups, where an ill-intentioned person attempts to create unnecessary conflict between individuals to divide and rule. This type of behavior is particularly dangerous because it exploits individuals' emotional vulnerabilities while seeking to destroy solidarity and cooperation. Divisions can also be fueled by disputes over issues of religious belief or practice, especially when people attempt to defend their own interpretation of Islam in a way that devalues or excludes that of others. The Prophet warned us against this type of division by saying, "You will see differences after me, so stick to what I have taught you and what my companions have transmitted to you." NTD, Sunan Abu Dawud. This means that even when different opinions exist, we must remain true to the essentials of the faith and avoid allowing these differences to destroy unity. It is also common for conflicts to arise due to personal rivalries or misplaced egos. Some people can get carried away with their desire to be seen as the most influential or important, which can lead to arguments and tension in social circles. Pride and lack of humility are often triggers for these conflicts because they lead to competitive and contemptuous behaviors rather than cooperation and mutual respect. The tendency to divide and create conflict is a destructive force that can destroy harmony and peace within any community. To combat this, every Muslim must adopt a peaceful approach, seek diplomatic solutions when disagreements arise, and always act with respect and humility toward others. The Prophet set an example by being a mediator of peace and resolving conflicts with wisdom and patience. Through these signs, we have explored the many ways in which those with evil intentions seek to mislead and sow trouble among us. Lying, manipulation, jealousy, incitement to evil and division are powerful tools they use to distance us from Allah and destabilize our faith. These signs remind us of the crucial importance of vigilance, of protecting our hearts and souls in order to remain steadfast in our commitment to Allah and in our pursuit of righteousness. To protect ourselves from these harmful influences, it is imperative to adopt regular and powerful spiritual practices such as dhikr, remembrance of Allah and prayer. Dhikr allows us to keep our hearts anchored in faith, push away negative thoughts, and strengthen our relationship with our Creator. Allah reminds us in the Quran that those who believe and whose hearts find their skin only in the Sangar Ikr of Allah, because it is in the Ger Tanhakr of Allah that hearts find theirs. Surat Ar-Ra'd 1328. These moments of contemplation and praise are powerful spiritual shields against the temptations of this world and malevolent influences.